के नियंत्रक एवं महालेखा परीक्षक का दिल्ली में शराब के विनियम और आपूर्ति पर निष्पादन लेखा परीक्षा प्रतिवेदन वर्ष 2024 का प्रतिवेदन संख्या नंबर 1 की प्रतियां सदन पटल पर प्रस्तुत करती हूं।
Now let's take a look at the CAG report on Delhi excise policy. 1. Revenue loss of 2002 crores. Rule 35 of Delhi Excise Rules 2010 was not enforced. License issued without solvency, financial or criminal checks. The report says it led to cartel formation as a single entity could operate 54 vends. It also goes on to say that the private wholesaler replaced state-owned wholesalers and few wholesalers controlled 71% of supply. It disregarded expert recommendations without explanation. Key policy relaxation granted without cabinet or LG approval. An excise duty charged upfront in license fees instead of per bottle. And liquor vends opened in non-approved areas. It also goes on to say that inadequate quality control and no test for 51% foreign liquor. And then the report goes into the detail of the revenue loss. It says failure to open liquor vends in non-conforming wards led to a loss of 941 crore. Retail license surrender led to 890 crore revenue loss. Security deposit collection failure led to 27 crore revenue loss. License fee waiver due to COVID-19 led to 144 crore loss. But there is always a counterpoint to the story. This is a CAG report, and CAG report has brought down governments. Manmohan Singh government was brought down by 2 CAG reports. AAP says number of things. But before that, I'll play out the bite of Atishi, the former CM, and then how they defend themselves.
जी रिपोर्ट बताती है कि भ्रष्टाचार 2 तरीके से हो रहा था कि कितनी शराब बेची जा रही थी उसमें भ्रष्टाचार था, क्योंकि जो पैसा सरकार के पास आता था वो हर बोतल के हिसाब से आता था। तो जो, और ये सब जानते हैं कि जो शराब बेचने वाले थे वो किस पार्टी से जुड़े हुए थे, किस पार्टी के लोग थे जिन्हें शराब के ठेके मिले हुए थे, किस पार्टी के लोग थे जिनको शराब बनाने के ठेके मिले हुए थे। वो क्या करते थे? बॉटल बाय बॉटल जब एक्साइज कैलकुलेट होता था तो वो फर्जीवाड़ा करते थे ये दिखाने में कि कितनी बोतलें बेची गईं। अगर आप इस सीएजी रिपोर्ट के चैप्टर 5 पेज 44 पे देखिएगा तो ये बताते हैं कि 28% से ज्यादा भ्रष्टाचार ये शराब के ठेकेदार कर रहे थे। कितनी शराब बेची जा रही थी उससे 28% कम की रिपोर्टिंग हो रही थी और इन दलालों की जेब में पैसा जा रहा था। दूसरी बात, ये रिपोर्ट साफ साफ बताती है कि शराब की ब्लैक मार्केटिंग हो रही थी। सब जानते हैं कि किस पार्टी के लोगों के पास इन शराब के ठेके थे।
Now AAP goes on to say that the old excise policy encouraged corruption in liquor businesses. They argue smuggling and black marketing were rampant. New excise policy was designed to increase government revenue and curb corruption, and new excise policy was not allowed to be implemented properly. AAP says that LG, CBI and ED deliberately halted the policy to prevent its execution, and there should be a probe to identify those responsible for blocking its implementation. And policy had the potential to generate 8,900 crore annually. Based on CAG report, an FIR should be filed against LG, ED and CBI. This is what Aam Aadmi Party has to say. I am joined by Neoma Gupta, spokesperson Bharatiya Janata Party, Shali Oberoi, spokesperson Aam Aadmi Party, Dr. Pooja Tripathi, spokesperson Congress, KV Prasad, senior journalist, and Xavier Rodriguez, founder and editor-in-chief, Goa Chronicle. And this whole entire debate is happening in midst of rumours swirling around whether Arvind Kejriwal is going to be Rajya Sabha member or not. But I'll come to that later. That bridge is going to be crossed later. But first, Neoma, to you. Does it do doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani? Or as claimed by Aam Aadmi Party, Shamera? To you.
So I started?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Karthike. How are you? So, one only way to look at AAP's defense in this matter is to realize the opportunistic and how sly has been after tabling the CAG report. I mean, today Atishi ji in a PC has now defended the policy by saying that the CAG report also highlighted issues in the old excise policy. Okay, so now they have resorted to making themselves innocent in this case by saying the policy was good because the CAG said so. I mean, my friend, what about the majority of the same CAG report, which says 100 other things that are directly implicating you for corrupt practices while ideating and executing the new policy? You conveniently ignore that all of a sudden. Why? Okay, I mean, I just heard one of her quotes on your thing. I mean, imagine the audacity that you think everyone is going to forget that it was your government and your leader, Mr. Kejriwal, who was responsible for the flawed execution of this policy. So how on earth can you blame everyone but yourself? But then again, this is what we've seen throughout, whether it comes to pollution, parali, water crisis, bad roads, garbage. It is always another state's problem, BJP's problem, LG's problem, but they will never see responsibility within themselves despite losing the election miserably. Why didn't they table this report if they had so much conviction in finding out the flaws of all the necessary elements involved around it? Fundamentally, from ideation to implementation, everything about this new policy was badly thought of with the intent clearly that it was antithetical to Delhi's financial interests. I mean, a massive revenue loss of 2,002.68 crores, a failure to enforce Rule 35 of Delhi Excise Policy Rule. There was an increase of the wholesaler margin from 5% to 12%. And, a couple of points which, when you were introducing the topic, was one of the worst parts is that the lives of Delhi consumers were put at risk because Delhi's excise department issued licenses even when the quality test reports were missing or non-compliant with the Bureau of Indian Standard Norms. Some test reports submitted by the license were not even in labs accredited by the NABL.
Okay.
And then you come around today, why didn't you table the report? Why didn't you do all that earlier?
I think that's an important question. I think I'll get in Shelly Oberoi here. Madam, two questions. Why wasn't the report tabled during the tenure of your government? And secondly, why was the policy withdrawn? That's one question which, dominated our discussions when the elections were taking place. Why was it withdrawn? The two questions to you, madam.
First of all, I would like to thank you so much for the question. And first of all, Bharatiya Janata Party has been shouting about this liquor policy. I think it's more than 2 years now. They had put our leaders behind the bar in the fabricated cases, in the false cases. And the fact is, today the CAG report was presented by the Bharatiya Janata Party government in the assembly. And the SPAG report itself confirmed that the old excise policy had the major structural flaws, and new policy was brought in by the Aam Aadmi Party government to increase the revenue as well as for the better transparency as well as curb the black marketing. And the major massive failure with the old excise policy has been highlighted in this document. First is there was failure to prevent the smuggling and the black market sales. Number two, there was liquor supply chain manipulation. Approximately 28% of the liquor sales were untracked due to the barcode failures, due to making room for the black market sales. Number third is the price manipulation resulting in the revenue loss. Then huge smuggling was done from the Haryana as well as the UP government, which is being, the Bharatiya Janata Party is ruling in Haryana and UP, as well as 88% of the total FIRs under the Excise Act were from the Delhi districts bordering the Haryana state. And 77% of all liquor seized came from these districts only. You can see in the chapter 6 of on the page number 58. And even the CAG report has confirmed, has acknowledged that the new policy was a better revenue model. You can see that on chapter 8, page number 85, which itself confirms that the new policy which the Aam Aadmi Party brought, that Delhi's projected revenue was going to hit a record, that is the 8911 crores.
Okay. Madam,
we need to understand, we all need to know.
Okay,
but let me tell you, the Aam Aadmi Party did not withdraw, the Delhi government did not withdraw that policy. It was only because of the intervention of the Bharatiya Janata Party and the central.
Let me read out one thing, then Madam, you made your point. Let me read out something. You have the entire report with you. Let me read out the most important part, which is 8.7. Then, I'll go to the other guess. It says several fundamental changes were effected in the excise policy 21-22 relating to levy and collection of excise duty, administration of liquor supply chain and coverage of retail operations. The actual policy contained provisions which were at the variance with the underlying objective for change in policy and the expert committee report. Necessary permission from the Council of Ministers were found lacking in some decisions which had revenue implications. The new policy was fraught with design issue as they imposed exclusively arrangement between manufacturer and the wholesale formation of retail zone with minimum of 27 wards each, increased the risk of monopolization and formation. Actual implementation was suboptimal and objective behind the policy were not achieved. Vends in non-covering wards could not be opened and equitable distribution of retail vends could not be achieved. Issue and management of zonal license had a major shortcoming. I can just go on. I will not waste people's time because I'm just reading the conclusion 8.7. This is one very important part of it. I mean to say this report clearly states the broad revenue loss, one, and second, something which is even more important. The report is going into the intent and implementation. I think that's where the accountability is. Dr. Pooja Tripathi.
I think you're right, Karthikeya. The problem here, the major issue here is the intent and accountability and the loss of credibility. The party that rode on the wave of anti-corruption crusade came and gave us a revenue deficit of around 2026 crore. Just now, Ms. Shelly Obera was talking about how this policy was increasing revenue. Why does CAG mention of loss of 26 crores? There has been issues of cartelization. There has been issues of monopolization. There have been no mandatory NABL accreditation. The barcode-based licensing was not effectively implemented. Why did if it was such a good policy, why did AAP retract from the whole policy?
Exactly.
The expert committee recommendations were violated and it's there on the paper. You just read it out, the 8.7 points. And the licenses were reduced from 77 to 14. This is the same state where education minister and the excise minister were one, and this has never happened in any of the country. So, Aam Aadmi Party has a lot to answer. They're truly, very correctly out of power because they just handled Delhi like they handled the Sheesh Mahal renovation. They just handled Delhi like their private limited company, and the CAG reports make some striking recommendations, make some striking observations on the same. And they have a lot to answer on that, coming out and saying that ED, CBI, IT and things like that, and most of our leaders are in jail. You have to answer on point-to-point rebuttal. Why did you ignore the expert committee recommendations? Why did you favor monopolization? Why did you favor cartelization? Why was not, the quality control measures were not implemented? Why were there are many points, and this Aam Aadmi Party has to answer. And, creating ruckus in the session, creating ruckus at the floor of the House won't solve the purpose. You have to come and take accountability that, dude, you actually came on the wave of, saying things to Sheila Dikshit ji, saying ki hum usko jail mein dal denge, isko jail mein dal denge. And now Arvind Kejriwal is looking at the Rajya Sabha route. This is the irony of sorts of the biggest, measure. And this they need to answer.
I'll get into journalists because, I will not bog down the viewer with the entire summary, but see, we have to go by the headings. I have covered 2G, even the coal issue, violation of licensing rule, revenue loss. It says weak verification of license holders, ignoring expert recommendations, lack of transparency and liquor cartels. It's not a small thing when you use the word cartel. Monopoly and brand favoritism, violation of cabinet procedures. I mean to say, if the rejection of the report is so acute, then the party should go to the court. And liquor price manipulation is something which is listed in the CAG report. Liquor price manipulation and failure to curb liquor smuggling, compromised liquor quality testing, poor data management. This is also about governance and failure of security level projects. Now, Savio and Kevi, where I really want you to come in is that I think it's going to be one report every week or one report every third day. Savio.
Well, go ahead, Kevi.
Okay. Mr. Prasad, you wanted to come. Come. Mr. Prasad, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. You want me to say something?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Well, I think, Karthike, as it looks like, there are 14 reports to be tabled. We had one yesterday, we have one today. I don't know if the schedule of the current assembly is for 3 days, it ends tomorrow. One doesn't know how many is scheduled. I have not seen the list of business as yet. But surely I think the BJP government in Delhi would like to spread it out and bring it out so that it can all the pre-election issues that they've been flagging, they would like to highlight them in a phased manner. And remember, Karthike, as you mentioned, you covered several CAG reports when they came out. It's a normal practice for an auditor to actually cite the objections and send it back to the department concerned for clarifications. So the clarifications have to come from the department concerned. This is a normal audit practice that they red flag issues and then ask for explanation. So I'm sure all that procedure and processes would have gone into by the CAG before the report is tabled. Of course, the next step would be the Public Accounts Committee should go into this. Now we know, as per convention, the Public Accounts Committee is headed by the opposition. So one has to see how it goes forward from where we are.
But you see, the Public Accounts Committee cannot invert the entire report. That is something which cannot happen. You know, PAC cannot invert the entire report.
No,
but
I'm not suggesting anything of that right. I'm only saying there's a due process of legislative process in place to analyze and go into the thing, and there'll be ample scope to delve into it, deep dive into the report.
Savio, you know, when we talk about the issue of corruption, do you think that life has come a full circle in Delhi's politics, starting from Anna Hazare's agitation today? I never thought when I covered it, not even at Ramlila Maidan, near Jantar Mantar, that I would be discussing a sort of a liquor scam connected with Aam Aadmi Party.
You know, Karthikeya, thank you for having me on this show. It's always a pleasure to share my points of view with such esteemed panelists. But I must say this, and especially to the Aam Aadmi Party representative, that the Aam Aadmi Party came with a hope of better politics, a better way to deal with corruption which is systemic in India. But unfortunately, they have turned out to be the biggest disappointment as far as politics is concerned and as far as activism is also concerned. Because what it has done for the people of India is that it's damaged their reputation of people who genuinely come out and fight for the right causes in the country and fight for the right issues in the country. Aam Aadmi Party's functioning over the last couple of years, ever since it's been in government in Delhi, is a reflection of the corruption that they came to fight and become corrupt again themselves. So it's actually a very systemic problem. And I believe their intent to stop corruption was false. They fooled the people of this country, wholeheartedly. Arvind Kejriwal, though there are many good people in the Aam Aadmi Party, I think Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia are the ringmasters of corruption as far as the liquor scam is concerned, and many more scams that I'm pretty sure that the BJP will bring out of the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. But what I want to also tell your viewers is that the Aam Aadmi Party keeps relying on the fact that they are out on bail, Please understand that they are out on bail, but they are not acquitted of the allegations that have been leveled on them. All right? So they are still as guilty as they are also considered to be or presumed to be innocent. Until the case reaches a logical conclusion, the question mark over Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia and other leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party continues. So for Aam Aadmi Party to always take the holier than thou ground is something that they need to desist at this point of time. It is the very reason they got the thrashing that they got in Delhi, and BJP came back after 27 years, primarily because of the Nautanki politics, the theatrical politics that the Aam Aadmi Party is known for. So I think the good people in Aam Aadmi Party should realize that instead of being driven by these ideologies that you spoke about, that I will not be like the other politicians, I will not be corrupt, I will not live in a large house or villa. You've gone and spat in the faces of all those people. And I definitely feel that the real betrayal of politics in India over the last decade is being a politician like Arvind Kejriwal, and he deserves to be in jail. Deserves to be in jail primarily because he has insulted the beliefs of the common man who hoped that a common man can rise up to be
Mr.
better
Savio, it was only
politicians. and
Arvind Kejriwal who worked for the general public. The free bijli, free pani, the good education model, the health model, that is appreciated all over
think
the
people
world.
want that? Do you
I
think
think
people
Savio,
want
Savio.
this
number
model
two is,
and
number
dominate
two is,
countries?
Savio,
number
you have
two is this
Savio,
new excise
Savio,
policy
you have to let
has
Shelly
potential.
Oberoi. You have to let Shelly Oberoi react. Shelly, go on.
See,
Go ahead.
how you have been talking about that Aam Aadmi Party has failed. What about the free bijli pani model which the Aam Aadmi Party gave to the Delhi people?
If you
The
win
good
the
education model which till now that has been appreciated all over the world. The good health model, the Mohalla clinic model. What about those? And let me tell you, the new excise model that had the potential of getting the excise revenue of approximately 8,900 crore. It was only that the policy was not allowed to be implemented as per it was designed due to the interference of the LG and the CBI and the ED. What about I think the action should be taken on these agencies. How the power of LG office was misused. The power of these central agency was misused for blocking the revenue generating policy. The real scam is being done by the Bharatiya Janata Party using the LG office and the agencies to sabotage the Delhi's new excise policy. A similar excise policy is being run in Punjab. Have you seen the numbers? In 2021-22, the excise revenue of Punjab was 6158 crores, and after a year, that is in 2022-23, which was increased to 8841 crores. And let me tell you, in this financial year 2024-25, the projected excise revenue will be approximately 10,000 crores. How the Bharatiya Janata Party has put fabricated cases on Aam Aadmi Party just to defame them, just to capture Delhi.
Ma'am,
Everybody
I
is
have just two
understanding,
questions for you,
Mr.
ma'am.
Savio.
I just have two questions for you. Mrs. Oberoi, I just have two questions for you. The first question is that there was a question mark raised by the Chief Secretary before the implementation of the liquor policy. Why was the government at that point of time not paying attention to the question raised by the Chief Secretary even before the implementation? Number one, that's question number one. Question number two is, if the policy was so robust and so much in the interest of the people of Delhi, why did you withdraw the policy when the pressure on the liquor policy came about?
Let me tell you, this policy was not withdrawn by the AAP government. It was only the intervention of the CBI and ED. What they did, the FIR was done by the CBI. The action was taken by the ED. So officers itself, they were so scared even to implement that policy, which was started by the Aam Aadmi Party government. The bureaucracy was so afraid because these agencies were intervening, and everybody knows that these agencies.
Madam, these are political
run by
decisions.
Bharatiya
Madam,
Janata
I completely differ from you. These are political decisions. Bureaucrats cannot take suo motu decision. The policy was made by the government of the day. The politicians were involved. How can you say that the bureaucrats decided now we are afraid we can't go ahead with this policy?
Let me tell you, Karthik,
it was the CM who decided that we will not go forward with this policy. It's plain simple. It's plain simple. The policy was retracted.
I have headed MCD for almost 2 years. Whenever these agencies intervene in any policy or any project, the bureaucrats are so afraid to implement those products. They put those projects on hold. I have seen them.
Well,
that policy was not withdrawn by the Aam Aadmi Party.
They can feel afraid, they can feel intimidated. But where does the buck stop, Neoma? Buck stops with the political executive.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They didn't table the CAG report. Today, I mean, I respect Ms. Oberoi to come with such force to defend the rollback policy. So, kudos to her. But honestly speaking, ma'am, how can you run away from all the other readings which are in your face in the CAG report? I mean, imagine the amount of monopoly and cartelization this policy just enabled by permitting a single applicant to operate up to 54 liquor vents. The previous limit was 2, which means an increase of literally 27 times. What is further, weird? There's so many weird things coming out. Even the land for the liquor vents saw irregularities. I mean, AAP's excise department approved the liquor vents in non-conforming areas. without the mandatory approval of MCD or DDA. Even the inspection teams falsely declared 4 vendors in like some zone 23 as being commercial areas. In some cases, the applicant themselves admitted that the vendors were in residential or mixed land use areas, yet licenses were issued. Due to these violations, all 4 illegal liquor vends were sealed by MCD earlier in 2022. This proves that due process was bypassed. Okay, so sitting over here trying to defend a policy which is in your face, even in the realm of law, would not really fly by, and losing this election shows that all the promises your former chief minister promised to keep, they failed miserably. The health, Yamuna, pollution, amenities, roads, garbage, sewage, you failed completely, and today you're going to face the brunt of it in losing the election. You've lost the election. You're going to face the consequences of your actions according to the rule of law. So all these defense will not fly by at all.
I think that's a very important point. Ultimately the CAG reports by Manmohan Singh government, they were tabled. Whether it was the CAG report of 2G, all made their way to the parliament and the debate. These CAG reports were not tabled. That's a very relevant question.
Correct.
Madam, Shaliyapura, that's the question. That's a very relevant question. And Manmohan Singh, all the CAG reports were tabled. They pulverized his government. But there was a discussion which took place. These CAG reports were not tabled. You could have placed the CAG reports, shed them to pieces and defended yourself.
See, Kartikeya ji, everybody know how the Aam Aadmi Party has suffered in last 2 years, and how Aam Aadmi Party, with lot of challenges, they have run their government. How their leaders were put behind the bars, and how Bharatiya Janata Party tried to collapse the system of the Delhi. How the funds were stopped at that time, how the fabricated cases were put on those our senior leaders, and Aam Aadmi Party, despite facing all the challenges, they tried to fulfill all the promises at that time, which they committed to the Delhi people. But as far as the liquor policy is concerned, let me tell you, what about, I want to ask the BJP spokesperson as well as the editor of this Mr. Savio, what about the 20,000 crore, the scam which was done by the Mr. Adani, the power scam? Even the Prime Minister was asked question by the international media, and he said, "ये तो हमारा personal मुद्दा है, हम इस पर कुछ अपने विचार रख नहीं सकते." What about how the New York prosecutor even they raised question about the Adani's power corporation corruption? Why everybody is not talking about that? Everybody knows how Mr. Adani bribed 2,000 crores to get the contract from the SECI. Why everybody is talking
Shelly,
about
I don't hold any brief for
policies?
Neuma, but there is a difference between what a journalist has been asking and what a CAG report is. I don't hold brief. I mean to say, there is a difference between a CAG report and what journalists ask.
Why the TV channels? Why
I mean, you are sitting in the aisle, you are giving all your, you were in your first part of your debate, you were addressing some of the topics. Right now, you're just deflecting tactics which you've done constantly. When Sheesh Mahal was thrown of you, you were deflected. Liquorgate scam is thrown of you, you deflected. When you've broken hands and stopped talking to Congress, you deflected. And today, this deflection is one of the primary reasons you've lost the people,
never discuss. Those scams, why they are being not being highlighted?
Shelly,
Even the international
I mean to
media
say, there is
asking
a
for those
difference
scams.
between a CAG report and journalists asking questions. I mean to say, the whole Adani issue has been raised by a number of parliamentarians in this parliament, in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, but that does not turn into a CAG report. Or we say that the CAG report is not something which you want to believe in. I mean, there are two different things. You can either walk out of the conversation or you can stay in the conversation, but the CAG report is something which is going to stay in front of you. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, does Congress feel somehow vindicated? Today, I know you are nowhere in Delhi when it comes to numbers or whether it comes to vote share, but does Congress feel vindicated today?
Absolutely, and we see this, as you mentioned, you were there at the Ramlila ground, you were there at the Anna Hazare movement, and this is the same Kejriwal. We have often repeated it, how he claimed, एक छोटी सी वैगनार में चलते थे, Reynolds का pen, oversized t-shirt, this whole fabricated image to moving to liquor scam worth of 26 crore to, throwing chappals at Sheila ji. That I still have that visuals, and throwing chappals at Sheila ji when she was addressing her rally, and then taking blank pages कि मैं सोनिया जी को जेल में डाल दूंगा, मैं शीला जी को डाल दूंगा. Congress stands vindicated, but most of all is the people of Delhi who have given a very decisive mandate against the corruption. You just can't say कि मेरी चोरी.
Pooja, the most important point in today's debate, I have to give it to Savio, was raised by him. Mr. Kejriwal led down the people of Delhi. There was an alternative model of politics which came into fore. A lot of people had hope in that model of politics, and he led down the people of Delhi. Activism, the way people networked and came on their own. I think it's more than apart from the financial corruption, it's a letdown where people have no political alternative. BJP is a behemoth today. It is the center that Congress occupied. Congress is you are not a national party right now, you are a multi-state party, as I always say in my debate. BJP is at the center of things, but Kejriwal has led down. It creates a distrust, then any outlier will never be given that trust. Isn't that, Savio? The sort of hope which got attached with Kejriwal.
You see, that's the problem, because there has to be checks and balances as far as politics are concerned in the country, and politicians are concerned, and political parties. So when the India Against Corruption movement turned into a political endeavor, there were lots of good people who normally stay away from politics that decided to be a part of the political setup with Aam Aadmi Party, which is why I still say there are many good people within the Aam Aadmi Party. Unfortunately, what happened is that Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia and the likes of them decided to believe that they were larger than life and had the ability to fool the larger audience of the country.
Used a word called Stalinist purge. Savio, Yogendra Yadav used a word called Stalinist purge.
I agree. I agree. I mean, look at him. So today, I'll tell you, Karthik, where the problem is. Tomorrow, a group of people who are genuinely opposing the government or any of the governments in any of the states based on a failed policy, the people of that state or the country are going to look at them with a question mark and say, this is going to turn into another India Against Corruption. They might turn into another Arvind Kejriwal or a Manish Sisodia. So Arvind Kejriwal has actually taken all the good, good branding or the good will that you had for activism, for genuine people, and put it down the drain. And that's the disappointment.
I think now as Neuma said, the proof of the pudding is in eating it. I think apart from the CAG report, what is really required is accountability, legal accountability. And I think like other corruption cases which languish, I think government should ensure that the case should not languish. I was, in the Westland case, the guy got the bail in the Augusta thing. And I was thinking as a citizen, not as a journalist, why couldn't the investigation go ahead, Why couldn't the case be completed in time? I think all these cases need to be completed in time. I think legal pace should be there. I think that's where the response of the government would be evaluated. I would evaluate the response of the prosecution, that you bring all of it to a legal end, There should be a verdict. And I think that is where the fairness would be evaluated. I thank all of you in joining this debate, and I know this is not going to be the first, because every CAG report which is going to be tabled in Delhi Assembly, we are going to debate it at News 9, because it is about accountability. And that's what matters in the end, and that's all on all point one. On the other side, Shashi Tharoor's selfie with Union Minister Piyush Goyal sparks speculation over his future in Congress, so don't go away.
Hello everyone. We have the biggest announcement of 2025, especially for cricket fans. We're bringing a golden chance to win a free trip to the UK with your favorite legends. Suresh Raina, Shikhar Dhawan, Shahid Afridi, Chris Gale, Brett Lee,